This is one module in a 21-part series that the York Group has developed to provide guidance on key elements of a cloud business model, and I would encourage you to spend time going through the rest of the series. As a general rule, it is a good idea for software companies to consider international expansion, especially those that are based in smaller markets. Software companies in the US can grow to be fairly substantial just selling domestically, but if you are in Sweden, Singapore, or Slovenia, the size of the local market sets a ceiling on how big you can become. But international expansion, when and where to do it, requires a bit of thought. There is sometimes a belief that SaaS solutions are easier to sell in new markets than on-premise software. Since it is a web-based solution, you just need to post it on your website, a marketplace, or an app store, and away you go. Orders will come in from all over the world, and you can make money while you sleep. I would say the cloud makes your solution available to customers in new markets, but it doesn't eliminate the need for marketing, sales, customer support, and in many cases, localization. We'll talk about this in more detail in other webinars, but data privacy and data sovereignty are big issues in many countries, which can make a cloud application less attractive than a comparable on-premise solution. There are many market-specific considerations that will impact your decision to go international, so let's go through some of them. The US is by far the largest SaaS market in the world. For traditional IT, the US represents about 30 to 35% of the worldwide spending, while it is 60% of the SaaS market. As mentioned, privacy laws are an issue. Europe in general is very sensitive to where personal information is stored, and this is particularly true in Germany and France. The adoption of SaaS has been relatively slow in Japan. In part, this is because the enterprise market is dominated by facilities management firms, and they see the cloud as a threat to their own business model. We're also seeing rapid growth rates with small and mid-sized companies in emerging markets. One of the reasons for this is the lack of existing infrastructure. Many of these companies have never invested in their own IT infrastructure. They've gone directly to the cloud. We see the same trend in mobility. The fixed-line infrastructure is so limited in many markets that users have leapfrogged directly to mobile phones, resulting in much higher penetration of cell phones than fixed-line phones. One of the fastest growth rates is in Latin America, and I'll cover that in a little more detail shortly. It can really be an interesting market to move into. Latin America could be an interesting market to think about for many of you. Personally, I think Latin America is a great opportunity for any software company, whether it is on-premise or SaaS. It is largely overlooked, so there is less competition than in many European and Asian markets. One of the main considerations in Latin America is the relative market sizes. As you can see on this slide, Brazil is more than 50% of all IT spending in Latin America, and Mexico is 23%. In fact, the top 6 countries represent 96% of the IT spending, so you can focus your attention on a handful of countries. I want to spend a few minutes to talk about China because it is a market that quite rightly receives a lot of attention. It has grown to become one of the world's largest markets for traditional IT and telecom. While piracy is still an issue, the piracy rates have dropped dramatically over the past 10 years. Today, software companies can actually sell more than one copy of their product. Some people think that SaaS is the way to go in China because it eliminates the piracy issue. I'm not convinced this is true. Reverse engineering a product is reverse engineering, whether it's delivered on a CD or over the web. Copying functionality and hosting a local version is happening all over the world. In any case, China hasn't shown the same potential for SaaS solutions, at least not yet. There are a number of reasons for this. Some of the things that make China challenging. First, culture. The Chinese prefer to buy, not rent, and they see SaaS as a perpetual payment for something they prefer to own. China isn't alone in this. We see the same tendency in France. A second factor is a concern about Big Brother. Rightly or not, many Chinese mistrust their government and don't feel comfortable storing their data on a large data center that can be hacked into by the government. They feel more secure having the data sitting on their own little server under their desk. A third factor, the Chinese government makes it challenging for foreign SaaS vendors with its regulations. In China, SaaS is technically classified as a telecom service, and as such, it requires a license. The laws are currently under review and may be changed at some point, but as a telecom service, a SaaS operator would have to be licensed by the Chinese government, and foreign-owned entities don't qualify. it has to be a local company or a joint venture with at least 50% local ownership. The bottom line is that it is currently illegal to provision SaaS solutions from outside China. There could very well be some SaaS companies with Chinese subscribers, but the risk is that the government could simply block the IP address and shut off the service. Provisioning a cloud solution across borders will result in some latency, and the impact will vary with the application. Real-time applications will be most sensitive to latency, while for backup and storage might not be that big of a concern. Latency is directly related to the distance from a data center. For example, we're working with a US company helping them set up in South Africa. They have a video streaming technology that requires immediate response rates. They were using a data center in the UK. When we tested it in a production environment in South Africa, there was a 6-second lag, which just wasn't acceptable. They needed to have the application running on a data center in South Africa. This is one of the things that makes Azure so compelling. While it isn't present in every market, Microsoft has more data centers in more countries in the world than anyone else, and they're aggressively expanding their coverage. To close out this segment on international markets, let's take another look at the relative SaaS spend worldwide. The single biggest market is the US, which leads to a fairly obvious conclusion for many companies. If you are a US company, focusing on the US first makes a lot of sense. And if you are from outside the US, you should consider expanding into the US sooner rather than later. The main reasons for this are that rapid adoption of SaaS. For many reasons, US companies have been more enthusiastic about the SaaS model. There are fewer issues related to data privacy on the Patriot Act. And latency is much less of a consideration. Azure, for example, has multiple data centers in the US, so a SaaS vendor could run its application from one or more locations if real-time response is critical to the application. The York Group helps ISVs and services companies that want to expand their cloud business. Our website offers a wide range of resources that you can access at no cost. And if there's anything we can do to help you, feel free to give me a call or send me an email.